the Sportsline Podcast here on CHCH. I'm Bubba O'Neill. Well, as you well know, we love talking to and uncovering amazing sports stories from Southern Ontario, and in particular, the Golden Horseshoe region. And as this podcast will always prove, there are many folks out there. Today, a master of her sport who has announced the end of an era. At one time, this student at Thistletown Collegiate Institute in Toronto was locked on the sport of basketball as a player. Hard work and knowledge of the game led her to a solid career at the University of Toronto. Now, from what I'm told, coaching was the obvious next step, which began at Ryerson University, but taking a leap of faith at McMaster University ended up being the dream job. Now, after 34 seasons of wearing maroon and leading the Marauders women's basketball program, Theresa Burns is stepping aside. Well, she's joined me in our cozy sports cage, and Coach Burns, say it isn't so. Why are you doing this?
It's just time, Bubba. It's just time.
Really?
It is. It is. It's, as you said, 34 years at Mac, 4 years at Ryerson before that. It's really been the better part of 4 decades. And what a ride. What a journey. Loved every minute. But, you know, it's just time.
Was this something that maybe crept up on you quickly? I hear in a lot of sports and a lot of superior athletes who are able and fortunate to stay in the game, whether it be as a coach or a player for an extended amount of time, that some say it just crept up real quickly, that thought of, you know, I'm done. And then for others, it was more of a game plan. How did that work out for you?
Yeah, I mean, you know, when you've been in it for almost 4 decades, you see it coming. But I would say over the last year and a half, I started to think about it a little bit more seriously, and I really didn't make a final decision until very, very deep into this year. I kind of let the season play out and then took one last good deep thought about it, and it just felt right. And I think you know when you know, and yeah, it's time.
You know, I started to look at it, and you put out this. How hard was it, first of all, to write this?
You know what? All of this has been a really mixed bag. Like, was it hard? It was really emotionally hard. It pulled at my heartstrings. But it was easy to say all those nice things about all those people that I talked about in that letter. The people that I've been fortunate to meet throughout these almost 40 years have been just incredible human beings, from coaching colleagues in our own hallway at MAC to coaching colleagues across the country, sports administrators, and of course, the players, the athletes over the years. So it's not hard to write nice things about all those people, and I'm glad I had the opportunity to, in some small way, say thank you. It wasn't enough, but I hope people understand just how much this has meant to me and how much all of those people have meant to me.
I think that here's why this kind of caught me off guard, and I know there are other people that I've spoken to. Like, you guys had a pretty good team this year, 13-9. You got the big win over Western, and yeah, I mean, sorry, no offense. It was a tough one again in the nation's capital against Carleton. Of course, that's just been for everybody.
For sure.
And I thought, okay, you know what? You got a couple graduating players, but you got some young stars that are coming up, and that this is the time to go for another cycle.
Yep.
Was that decision tough, full knowing that, you know what, you're going to be competitive next year?
Yeah, I mean, it's always tough. The hard thing about leaving coaching is that it's kind of a hard stop. You don't just inch your way out of it. You don't work your way down to, hey, I'll just coach 2 days a week and then I'll ease my way out. It's a hard stop, and no matter when you do it, you are going to leave some athletes behind. You're going to miss some opportunities to coach some athletes for one more year, or maybe if they're incoming, maybe coach them for the first year. And that's certainly the case here. And that's a really difficult part of this for me. I don't want to say goodbye to any athletes, and I was certainly am very excited about some of the athletes that are coming into the program for their first year next season, and I will sincerely miss the opportunity to be working with them, but I know they're going to do great, and they're going to be really valuable pieces in that program. So there's really no other way to exit in this profession other than maybe to leave a few people behind.
Can you explain to someone, especially on a university level, what kind of commitment it is to be an effective coach and what would keep you coaching for this amount of time? Obviously, there are other things other than just being on the basketball court. How much of a commitment on a yearly basis does it take up?
Oh, it's huge, and I know any profession would speak to all the things that go into making your job. But in terms of coaching at the university level now, whether it's recruiting, whether it's budgeting, whether it's the marketing PR piece, whether it's the alumni relations, it's just administratively day to day. There's a lot of pieces that go into making a program run, whether it's your schedule, your gear, working with strength and conditioning staff, working with sport med staff, working with other McMaster staff. I mean, you're on a university campus. There are things that need to be done on a university campus. So it's honestly, it's a very, very busy job. It's nights and weekends. It really is a 7-day-a-week job. You're really never off the clock. You're on the clock for your athletes always. You're on the clock for recruits always. You're one of their major support pieces in their life, so you can never really check out from that, nor do you want to. So yeah, it's hard to understate just how busy busy the job is.
You clearly loved it, because I'm sure that's why you did it, for crying out loud.
Absolutely. Here's
the question. I've put a microphone in front of your face for years now, decades actually, and I don't think I've ever asked you this question. What made you come to McMaster? That process, I mean, you started off at Ryerson. Mm-hmm. What made you go to McMaster? How did that all start?
Yeah, I was young at McMaster, and I honestly, I'm so grateful to Michelle Belanger, my coach at U of T, for kind of pushing me into that interview process in the first place. And her advice to me at Ryerson was just go to the interview. And, are you ready for the job? I'm not sure. Maybe you are, maybe you aren't. You're very young, but the interview process will be good for you. As it turned out, I ended up with the position, and so grateful for that. When the McMaster job came open, I just took a look at sort of all the pieces and the variables, the location, the history of the program. Obviously a great academic institution.
Sure. Was it in good shape at that time?
It was in pretty good shape. They had just 2 years previous, was it 2 years, I think, had just won a bronze medal at Nationals, and then was in a little bit of a rebuild, but we're still really, really solid. You could just see the potential to recruit there, again, because of the academic excellence in that institution. It's a highly sought after academic piece for student athletes, and I thought the recruiting there would be very successful. The resources were there. I started to find out a little bit more about Therese Quigley, who is the athletic director there, and I mean that was a real selling point. Therese is honestly, I've said this publicly before, I owe her my career. She's a brilliant, wonderful human being and wonderful sports administrator, and has done so much for sport in this country. And she took a chance on a young coach and brought me in, and I'll be forever grateful for that. It just seemed like a good fit, and the more I went through the interview process and got to know the people there, I just felt really comfortable with it, and I was just ecstatic when they offered me the job.
You're right about Therese. I mean, anyone that's been around OUA sports for the last 3-4 decades, whether it be at McMaster or Western, knows that the touch that she would have with speaking to people, running programs, and everywhere she goes, there's success. Absolutely. It's amazing, and the fact that she was able to be part of your mentorship, I guess, in terms of what you were looking up to, is an amazing thing. Now, I'll ask you two questions, kind of a two-part question here. Did you know you could coach?
I felt like I could. Mm-hmm. Do you know? You hope you know. It just felt right, and I didn't know that going into university. It wasn't on my radar at all. I loved the game, and I was just so inspired by Michelle Belanger, and getting to work with her and be coached by her every day, and watch her how she handled her craft of coaching. And I drove her crazy. I was in her office constantly just picking her brain and chit chats and conversations, and she was great about it. And as I got sort of further into my university days, she planted the seed of, hey, maybe this is something you might want to think of. And I mean, it was like just a light bulb went off to, you could make a career out of this. You could spend your life doing this thing that you love. And from that moment on, I was all in. And I really, again, did not plan to be a head coach this early. Didn't think that would ever happen. But just so fortunate that it did. And as I said, the path to MAC, once I got to MAC, it's just been nothing but happiness, honestly. There's highs and lows, but I mean, just nothing but happiness being at McMaster.
Second part of the question, though, and as you built up earlier at it, is that it's just more than designing plays. Coaching is more than just designing plays. You're actually granted the opportunity of running a program. So as you talked about this being a yearly sort of job, and this is why I ask you this, because you're young, and yeah, you're in love with the sport, and yes, you feel like you're in touch with coaching students, but were you prepared for all that came with it on the other side of it?
No. That's the honest truth. No. I think it's a real eye-opener, and you get in there, and just the administrative side and the mentoring side and the support pieces, I mean, it's just, no, you're not fully prepared until you get into it. I would say some coaches these days are maybe a little bit more prepared because they often will serve in like a full-time assistant role prior to getting a head coaching role, and that wasn't really around when I started, so you just jumped right into the head coach role in those days. And yeah, there was a lot of learning, and again, credit to our staff at McMaster for being as supportive and collegial, and it's really a teamwork first atmosphere there. And to have a leader like Therese and a mentor like Therese, if there was something that I was unsure of, I just went down and knocked on her door, which was always open, and she gave me the information I needed, and off we went. And when you have colleagues that you can also go up and down the hallway, and we have such wonderful coaches at McMaster, and we share a lot of conversations and information and support for each other, and that certainly sped up the learning process as well.
You know, I look at so many of your seasons, and of course, you kind of look at it from a broad base, of course, as you talked about, 3 decades of coaching, and you look at the win-loss records and the awards won and where you went. And, in the early 2000s, there was a rise of the program yet on a national basis. And, and what was that like for you? Because all of a sudden, you get this program now, and that you're kind of getting your touch on it and what you want it to be, and choosing your kind of players, and you have a trusted assistant coach staff. But now you've taken your talents and it's rubbing off well, and your program is rising. What was that like for you in those early 2000s where you're starting to say, we've got not just a competitive OUA situation, we're looking at being a nationally known program?
Absolutely, yeah, and that's exactly what it was. I mean, that was the build, and getting to that point where, yeah, we're not about, hey, are we going to make playoffs anymore? Like, that's no longer the goal. We're going for the pinnacle. It was exciting. I mean, it feels good. It's a lot of hard work by a lot of people, and when you start to see it pay off, I mean, it feels great. It's exciting. What you learn is that now you have to hone in on the details, and so the big pieces, big building blocks start to fall into place, and now it's the day-to-day little minute details that are going to make the difference. And you have to have gold medal details, and you can have good details and you might get to a playoff game or win a few playoff games. You can have silver medal details, but we found out the year before we won national championships that we were really, really good, but we didn't have gold medal details. And it was that focus for the next 12 months, every single day on every single thing we did, that I really think contributed to finally pushing it all over the top.
We look at this moment right here, and this is 2019, obviously the pinnacle. Bronze, baby!
Yeah.
And I'm so fortunate because I got to be a lot with your team there, and this all started off with some crazy wins in the regular season, and you could just tell that this group had something special, really something special. And I would argue, you may argue with me, this is your team, that I thought you had more talented teams leading up to this one. But it just goes to show that team means everything. Yeah,
we've been blessed with some very, very talented teams, and it's like picking between your kids. Like, which kid am I going to pick? There's, trying to say this team's better than that team. We've had some amazing athletes and amazingly talented teams. There was a chemistry on that national championship team, though, and a vibe. I do think it goes back to the decision the year before, and it was fully 1 year before at nationals, where we literally committed to each other to put the gold medal details in place. And the players bought in fully, 100%. The coaches bought in fully.
How did you sell that to them?
You don't have to sell it. When you're that close and you taste it and you look around and you understand it, I just think we had a maturity level in those athletes and a desire in those athletes and a commitment in those athletes and an intelligence in those athletes to see, like, yeah, you're right. Like, we are so close, and it's just these little details that are going to make the difference. And they bought in. And I mean, we've told the story a million times about, lots of people came in the summertime, worked out, and then on Friday, it was a long weekend. It was, the gym's empty. Our strength and conditioning coach, at the time, Ben Barami, said, I knew you guys were going to be good because I came in to Friday to the HPA, to the workout area, and your athletes were in there on a long weekend. They were the only athletes in the building. Nobody else was there. Everybody else was taking a holiday, but they were going to get their workout done before they left for the weekend, and I knew right there you guys were buying into the gold medal details. So very, very special group, and we shared something together that will be part of us forever.
You really will, and that's the best part about it. And I remember, I gotta admit, I kind of had some tears in my eyes watching you guys play that game. Laval were the favorite team.
Yes.
Were they not?
They were, absolutely.
Fair to say. And that you guys, even talking, I remember, I think this is one of the few times I'd ever done this because of the timing of the 6 o'clock news that Saturday or Sunday, or whenever that was. It was a Saturday. I had to do pre-game interviews as opposed to post-game interviews. And there was a confidence of all the girls I talked to. I remember, and then thinking while I'm watching this all play out in front of me, that you had the role, like everyone had a role, it seemed. Like, I mean, from Christina Putnam, which she was, how many blocks did she have in that playoff run?
Yeah.
And I'm looking at her, I'm like, this girl's unbelievable. And I'm looking at her, defensive metrics, and she's playing way above her level of what she had posted at that time. I always will never forget Linnea Harper, the shot, I'll call it. I don't know, textbook, you know more about basketball than I will ever know. I don't know what you call that shot. It was some kind of left-handed, weird, wacky shot that bounced off the boards, and it was the shot that sealed the deal. It was beautiful.
Yeah. Especially, I mean, when magic like that happens, you kind of have the feeling it's meant to be. Mm-hmm. I mean, Christina is one of the most amazing athletes I've ever coached, and I mean, her blocks in that tournament, in that game, but her block in the Concordia quarterfinal where she chased someone down full court.
I have that. We have
swatted it into the bleachers. I mean, I'll never forget that. The funny thing about Linnea's, her left hand step through almost wasn't quite a hook, but it's a left hand step through. She would do that in practice all the time, but her feet were in the paint. And I don't know whether she just sort of forgot her feet were in the paint and she was a little kind of further out on the wing, but she was just so comfortable with that. And again, when that dropped, I remember smiling on the sideline and thinking, like, okay, this is going to happen.
You did know it.
Yeah. At that moment, it started to build that elation inside, and I started to really believe. Yeah.
I don't know what your best coaching job was. Obviously, you can say that was a national championship, so there's obviously some greatness to you. But I remember watching, because I had a close level of, and again, games leading up to that to that gold medal game too, watching the attention that the student athletes, your players, had on you when you were talking in breaks and timeouts. And I don't know if that happens all the time, but it was clear, and you must have felt the respect that they have for you.
Oh, I really appreciate how locked in they were, and again, speaks to their basketball intelligence, emotional intelligence, who they are as people. They were fully committed, and but again, I think that goes back to starting the process years earlier, but in particular, that full calendar year leading up to the national championship of just gold medal details. And one of them is that focus and being able to block out the noise and being able to focus on ourselves and focus on our own process. And I think so many people have commented on how happy our team looked. And obviously every team at nationals is happy to be there, but you guys look so relaxed.
It's true.
Didn't feel the pressure. And it's like, you know what? I'm not going to say we didn't feel any pressure, but we really had worked our way into the process of enjoying the moment and enjoying the journey And we went in the pregame that day was just, you have worked so hard to get to this moment. Like, you need to enjoy it. You can't be scared of the outcome. You can't be scared of what calls are going to be made out there. Like, there can be no fear here. There has to be nothing but joy in being here, because you've earned it. And just go and soak up that amazing, like, I'll never forget the crowd. It was the most pro-Mac. It was 2,000 Mac fans at the game. So loud,
National
so noisy.
TV.
Yeah, I mean, that atmosphere was incredible. Something I'll never forget. And all we wanted them to do was just enjoy this, because there are athletes who will never get to this point, regardless of the outcome. Enjoy this. And our team, that's how we functioned. That's how we functioned all year.
Here's the shot. What is that?
Look at that. That's pure Linnea. That is pure Linnea.
Just wonderful. And yeah, again, I was somewhere in behind here and just watching you guys, and I'm like, this is what you play for, right? And I can't not go on and on about this, because, as you well know, 34 years of coaching, 1 national championship. It's rare. It's so rare to get to this level, to reach the top of the mountain here, where you can actually say, okay, yeah, that's one thing to be the best in the OUA, to say you took on the best in the nation and beat them. Again, no matter what you have in your career, that's one that you will always file away, I'm sure. It's just a wonderful moment.
Oh, absolutely. It's well, obviously it's so hard to get there and complete the job at that level. So yeah, magic, special, unique, life-changing, all those good words. It's and just a lot of pride in for obviously the athletes are the one that got the job done. So proud of our coaching staff and our support staff, sport med, strength and conditioning, our assistant coaches, because we needed all of them to be locked in too, and such amazing professionals in what they do. So yeah, so many people contributed to it, and that makes it special as well.
The neat part about that is, and one of the things that maybe you don't even really, well, I'm sure maybe you get a little bit later, that how that rubs off on maybe some of the grade 8 players from Hamilton that saw that moment and wanted to be part of that, want to wear the maroon. It's an inspirational moment, a motivational moment for those younger that are on the come-ups.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, talk all the time, right? Like, you need to see it to be it. And I really think we tried very, very hard, on top of obviously national TV, national championship, that moment. But throughout all of our years, and especially those really successful years, we try to put our athletes front and center in the community and put them out there, because girls need to see that. They need to be able to have role models and aspire to be these amazing, wonderful Marauder women and in their own right. So yeah, I hope that moment inspired some young ones to play. We had a lot of amazing messages and feedback after from local Hamilton clubs, club teams, high school teams, club teams. So I think it was inspirational for our players to rub off on some of the young girls in the Hamilton and broader community.
Well, there's a shot there of Kia Nurse in there. That's all you need to say.
Absolutely.
And she's pumped up like she was actually playing.
Yeah.
Coach Burns, you've had so many wonderful moments. You've also had some challenges. And I had to scout through some of our old footage, and let's leave it to this report and let's have a listen, folks.
When head coach Theresa Burns announced she was battling cancer, no one was sure how much or little she'd be involved this season. But today is one of Burns' good days, so she made it out to practice. Perhaps a little quieter than her normal feisty self, but glad to be here all the same.
I miss them. So this is, I think, as much for me selfishly as it is for them. You hope that you can step out and the thing keeps rolling. That's the way you should build a program, I think. So it's good to see everyone doing their job and doing it well, and yeah, it's fun to watch.
This is Burns' second battle with cancer. Once again, the team is in good hands under her longtime assistant, Anne-Marie Thuss, who's also manager of Canada's national team, which won Pan Am Gold and the FIBA Americas Championship this past summer.
Kind of soaked up as much as I could, especially this summer, and try to keep going with that positive energy too.
There's nothing but positives when it comes to Mac's roster. Last weekend, Danielle Boyago led the team to a gold medal at Ryerson's Darcel Wright Memorial Tournament and was also named the tournament MVP. She's determined to make it to nationals this year, and Coach Burns has been a major inspiration.
What better way to motivate ourselves than to play for her each and every game?
The team paid tribute to Burns and everyone fighting cancer, wearing pink shirts at their exhibition game against Mohawk, and they took part in the Run for the Cure earlier this month.
The support's been fantastic, and if that's a little extra motivation for them, that's great, and that's the kind of people they are. It means a lot to me and to my family for sure. So yeah, it's special.
Natalie Marconi, CHCH Sports.
Coach Burns, you're a special person. And I don't know how that made you feel watching that, because that goes back to, I think, about 2015 when that report was made. Thank you, Natalie Marconi, for that. When you think about some of those challenges that you've had to ride through on and off the court and where you are today and the fact that you've been able to coach for 35 years, how does that make you feel?
Extremely grateful. Just blessed and grateful. It was a rocky time for sure, but you could see even that video, just to have those kind of people around me, the team support, the players, my dear friend Anne-Marie Thus, who she's called herself my right arm, and I've called her my right arm many times in our lives. Stepped in without blinking an eye, and was her amazing self, and kept that team going and helped that team thrive. So when you have that kind of support around you, you can feel nothing but gratitude, and feel good now and on the other side of all that, and lots of good memories that have happened since that time. I think for anybody in that situation, and we all know how many people have been touched by cancer in this country and in the world, it touches everybody. You get through it because you have people that support you, and I couldn't be more grateful to the cast of supporting crew that I had around me at that time and continue to have around me.
If I may ask, how was it close that you may never coach again?
I'm not sure. I kind of never let myself go there.
Right, okay.
It was more of a just take this day by day.
Right.
And I felt like my prognosis was pretty good, all things considered, and just, one day at a time, get through the challenges. And like I said, having the opportunity, to stick my head into practice the odd time, and, having players' phone, coach's phone, check in, that kept me in touch with it. And boy, I sure missed it while I was away. But it was so nice to get back to it.
You brought up a name of Anne-Marie Thus, and what she means to you, and I guess Ed Grossel's kind of the same thing.
Yeah, I mean, Anne-Marie and Ed, and Andrew Bailey, and then Danny, especially as part of that championship group. But Anne-Marie, Ed, Andrew, and Kelly Dunham were kind of the mainstays and the coaches that spent the most time in our program, and they've become dear friends. I've known Anne-Marie since our university days. We've been friends. She's, my kids call her Aunt. She's family to me. But to have special people like that, their heart's in the right place. They care so much about the student athletes. They come, they're excited to be there. I mean, Ed says that continuously. Like, I love coming here. I love coming here. I love coming here. He's been saying it now for 2 decades. That's important, and to have that consistency, obviously, in your coaching staff is really critical. But not just in terms of successes, but it makes it a joy to be there every day. We genuinely like to see each other. We genuinely care for each other and want to work together every day. And when it's that kind of environment, yeah, you want to be there forever. So you never leave. Until now.
Well, until now. But I'm sure you're still going to be rubbing off on that program in many other ways. Here's one thing I need to kind of ask you, because over a 35-year margin in the sport, or in fact in any sport, the game changes, the equipment changes, the students change. And you couldn't have coached for that long if you weren't adaptable. What kind of challenges did that bring to you? Because I think about myself as a student back in the day, and I look at the students now, and they're completely different. What was that like for you? Because you don't last this long if you're not been able to try and ride the wave of many changes.
Absolutely. Yeah, you have to be adaptable. You have to be a lifelong learner. And I mean, I feel that way about myself as a human being, I feel like I'm a learner. I always want to learn something new every day. And I think you have to be as a coach. You're never finished learning. There's always something else you can add to your craft. You watch other coaches, you learn from them. The game's changed. Just the level of coaching at lower levels has improved so much and increased so volume of coaching. There's more coaches, there's more athletes getting the benefit of that coaching. The coaching itself, the quality of that coaching has improved. So you're dealing with a different athlete when they finally get to our level compared to, say, 30, 40 years ago. The game is faster. Strength and conditioning has changed. Conditioning methods have changed. Athletes are just, there's a different level of athleticism that we're seeing now. It's a global game now. So, it's almost positionless in a lot of ways for a lot of teams now, where it used to be the point guard did this and the 2 guard did that and the 3 guard. And now it's just, you need a multifaceted skill set. And you may have a bigger post who's a little bit more specialized, or a point guard has some special skills, but really everybody can shoot the ball, everybody can post up, everybody can drive. So that's been a change in the game. We see it I see it in my own kids. We didn't have cell phones when I when I was a player. Cell phones have changed the world, in my opinion. So they just think differently now, and they approach things differently now, and and in a good way, I think we coach differently now. I think there's more women coaching now, which has been absolutely phenomenal to watch that growth. And we have female athletes who can watch other female athletes now, because there's so much more media coverage in so many different sports. So all of that together has just changed the landscape dramatically. And as a coach, you need to keep learning, and you need to keep up with it, and you need to keep current. And you try to do that to the best of your ability.
You have to be excited, and I don't know if you ever saw this coming. When I say the word Toronto tempo,
yes,
did you ever think this was going to happen?
Not maybe in the last few years, hopeful.
Yeah.
But I went to the inaugural WNBA game in Cleveland. So they had a game in LA and a game in Cleveland on the same night, and that was opening night for the WNBA all those years ago. And I cried. I sat in the bleachers with friends, and we had made the road trip down to see it, and we were all crying because we just couldn't believe that there was finally a professional women's basketball team and a packed stadium. And so watching that growth and development across all kinds of women's sports, but in particular basketball, of course, it's been exciting. And the last couple of years, the talk of expansion and fingers crossed, you think, come on, Canada needs a team. And I am so pumped. I'm super excited about it, and I can't wait to see what they do with that team. I look at the management they've put in place, and it's outstanding. It's going to be great. It's going to be so well supported, and I'm hoping that kind of explodes, and maybe there's a second Canadian team somewhere down the road. We'll see.
It's so interesting, women's basketball, and what a high it's riding right now. To think that in the United States of America, that the women's Final Four almost doubled the audience of the men's Final Four last year.
Yeah.
And there's a belief that it will happen again this year.
Yeah.
That's incredible.
It's amazing. It's fantastic. But this has been a build for a long time, and there's been so many amazing pieces in place. And I think it's just the convergence of so many sports finally growing. It's gotten to this critical mass where it's women's hockey, it's women's soccer, it's women's rugby, it's basketball, and then you need sort of that fuse to be lit, and it lights the powder keg. And in women's basketball, I think the emergence of Caitlin Clark, and there's so much that was there that was waiting to be sort of just explode. And I just think what happened with her kind of lit the fuse. And now we're seeing just the depth of what's out there in women's basketball, and the amazing number of talented athletes. And it's exciting. It's just, from someone who grew up in the era of girls don't play sports, to get to this point and watch this is just yeah, it warms my heart, and it's exciting to say the least.
It's special. It really, really is. Let's fast break on a couple of quick things, and you can say one word if you have to. Yeah, quick. Best win.
National championship.
Fair. The loss that still bothers you to this day.
The first game of the championship before the national championship, because we really did believe.
Against?
I was against McGill.
Okay.
And we thought we were ready. We thought that was going to be our year, and that was the that was the real soul searching. What is missing from this? So that one. That felt like such a blow because we really, really thought we were going to have something special that year.
The player that you coached, you felt came the longest way.
Oh, wow. That's a hard one because there's so many. I don't know if I could pin that down to one. So many athletes just leaps and bounds when they came in. Yeah, I hate being wishy-washy on answers,
fair.
but
Fair.
That would be really hard to pin to just one.
Biggest lesson learned.
Savor each moment of everything you're doing every day.
As I said, I haven't been around for all 34 years of you being on the sidelines, but I have seen at least 20, a little more than 20. So what I did, I put together my All Bubba team, and I want you to rate the All Bubba team, and maybe there's some additions or subtractions that you would like to make. So Laura, here's my All Bubba team.
Wow.
Your thoughts?
That is one heck of a basketball team you have up there.
They can all score. I'll tell you that much.
That is. You know what? I can't argue with that at all. That is world class right there. Yeah.
Say it.
I love it. Taylor Smith has to be in there somewhere.
Ooh, okay.
Taylor Smith should be in there.
As a guard, okay.
Point guard extraordinaire. Yeah, for sure. Yeah, it's hard. Sarah Sterling was outstanding. Haley Milligan was such a dominant post. Kristen Dickinson played just did everything on the court, from assists to rebounds to scoring. But yeah, I would love to coach that team.
You did.
Well, I mean, but all together as a group, put them together and let's go challenge somebody, because that would be a whole lot of fun.
I struggled at the center position between Rocca and Sherrod. I thought there were some pluses and minuses, and the only reason why I picked Rocca was because of her defense. I thought her defense was just tenacious in the time I watched her. She was just always in somebody's face.
Yeah. I mean, it's when you get to that level, how do you pick, right? You're splitting hairs over amazing athletes. So, but yeah, I like your team. I like your picks.
If you had to pick the top scorer as someone that is it Gates that is just, she just couldn't stop scoring, it seemed. The 1 year she averaged almost 30 points per game.
Yeah, and it's the way she scores. She scores in so many different ways. And you saw Danny was all-time leading scorer in our program until Sarah.
Yes.
And the only difference I would say was that Sarah, has that post-up ability. She has the physicality to go inside and score a little bit more. Danny was probably a little bit more of a pure perimeter scorer. But Sarah just scores in so many different ways. You might have to slightly give her the nod in terms of being a scorer. But smart players, talented players.
You don't make the All Bubba team if you don't have the
Listen, I'm gonna tell them about this and go, you made the Bubba team. That will make their career.
Well, yeah, there's gonna be a couple that they're gonna be all over me. Actually, be getting some messages from, how can I not make this team?
Yeah.
These the six women on the bench, for crying out loud. Coach, I don't even know how to end this. Thank you so much for what you have done, for making the MAC program what it is today. A desirable place for student athletes to come learn and play the game of basketball, which they love. What you've done in the community. Your name is, whether you know it or not, your name is known synonymous in this area for basketball excellence and being a good woman on top of that as well, too. You have done incredible things over 35 years here in Hamilton. It will never be forgotten. I hope you understand that, and that's coming from a sports person as well too, because I'm sure there are people that are much closer to you that would tell you that, and it will mean even more. So I can only say thank you. As you put thank you in your note, I say thank you to you. And I'll represent the sporting community here in our region. It's been awesome. And to see you go through your life challenges and to see the effect that you have had on students. I've talked to a number of them, and your name comes up. And I don't think we never get into these things for it. I hear it sometimes from TV, and like, you never know the effect that you have on someone by your words and your actions. And your words and actions have left an imprint on many athletes. So on behalf of them, on behalf of the community, on me, covering you and sticking that microphone in front of your face, some of the times you're like, Bob, I can't do this right now. But you always were such classes. So whatever is next for you, I say good luck to you. I hope that they make the right decision. Replacing you is going to be tough. Going to be real tough. But you made the decision. I hope you live with it well. And again, thank you so much for being on the Sportsline Podcast.
Well, thank you for everything you just said, for all the kindness over the years. And I don't know how to say it except to say it's been a privilege, like just an absolute privilege. It's been a dream, and I'm so indebted to so many people for supporting me and giving me this opportunity, and I will be forever sincerely grateful, and I'm looking forward to what's next. But thanks so much. Thanks for having me today, and thanks for everything. I really appreciate it.
Anytime you want to come visit, please do. I might have to bring you in as a basketball analyst.
Okay, sounds good.
You do good on the TV. All right, thanks, Coach. That's your Sportsline Podcast for the day. And as you just seen and heard, we love talking sports with local legends. If you do know of an athlete, team, or event to promote the Sportsline Podcast, you want to hear from you, please hit the subscribe, thumbs up, and like button. If you have something to say, please comment. We really appreciate them, good or bad comments, of course. That's how we get better. For the outstanding talent that make the Sportsline Podcast possible, thank you so very much, and we'll see you tomorrow.